Before Klay Thompson tore his ACL and Achilles, he was widely considered as one of the greatest shooters of all time. But after the injuries, we got to witness a version of Klay Thompson that we've never seen before. After 2 season-ending injuries and a 2.5-year absence, we knew his play would be different, but even his jump shot has seen some tweaks, whether that's on purpose or not. First of all, his release point and arc are noticeably lower than what they were. Klay is literally known for his high arcing threes. Not only do stats back this up, on some shots you can actually see the difference. Looking at this chart, you can see that this season the arc on his shot is down 2 to even 3 degrees on some shots. And that might not sound like a lot, but that's the difference between making and missing a shot. But the reason his release hasn't been the same could be from the different ways he's been scoring. Before the injuries, Klay would score most of his points off screens. And after, he still mostly scores off screens, but also has the ball in his hands a lot more, using Draymond and other screeners like Steph does. But he does get a lot of looks shooting spot-up catch-and-shoot jumpers, which makes sense for a dude coming off 2 different leg injuries. He also is taking more pull-up jumpers than he ever has as well. Instead of driving, he's opting to shoot instead. Whether that's a pull-up mid-range or 3, he's been more likely to try the jump shot than driving down the lane, which is also probably psychological. This would also lead to him taking more threes per game than he ever has in his entire career. He only played 32 regular season games and averaged 9.3 attempts per game, with the next highest being 8.3 back in 2017. It would also be his lowest three-point shooting percentage in his career, shooting 40.2%. But let's get into some defense before we take a look at this year's finals. Before the injuries, when you thought of Klay, you thought of a shooter on offense, but also a really good defender on defense, oftentimes guarding the opponent's best scorer. But ever since the Warriors traded for Andrew Wiggins, that responsibility has belonged to him. That doesn't mean he guards the worst player either. Like in the finals, he was often matched up with Jaylen Brown instead of Tatum. Even though Jaylen Brown did outplay Tatum. Jaylen's best defender is his own brain, but he's still an extremely tough player to guard, and Klay can still keep up with that. Speaking of this year's finals, Klay Thompson had averages of 17 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists per game, which is still really good, but if we look at his averages from the 2019 finals against the Raptors, you can see the drop in numbers. The drop in percentages were expected, especially since they had Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole scoring a good amount of points. But what wasn't expected was the major drop-off in efficiency. In the 2022 finals, he only shot 35.6% total and 35.1% from 3. And if we compare that to his absurd 2019 percentages, yeah, it's not even close. It's actually his lowest shooting finals series since 2015. It also goes to show how good Klay Thompson really was before getting injured. 58.5% from 3. He literally shot better from 3 than he did total. The growth of Klay Thompson has been insane, and although his finals numbers did drop off, his overall playoff stats were extremely similar to playoff runs in the past. For the 2022 playoffs as a whole, he averaged 19 points, shooting 42.9% total and 38.5% from 3. Which, if we compare that to the 2019 run, they really aren't that much off, especially once you start comparing them to other playoff runs in the past. He might not be the exact same player he was, but there's things about Klay Thompson that will never change. And like Klay said, smooth waters never made a skilled sailor. Doing my research for this video, I was actually surprised how little the difference really was. Even with the drop-off in numbers in the finals, he has done an incredible job to get back to where he was after missing over 2 years. And he's still 32 years old, which is 2 years younger than Steph Curry, and he'll only get better and better from his injuries. Knock on wood, that is. If this turns into another DeMarcus Cousins situation, I'll stop watching basketball forever. But thank you so much for watching, like the video if you enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe, it would mean a lot.